Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Pallet of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new issue of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. Now as per usual, if you like the videos, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course drop a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys and it goes an absolute massive way to help the channel too. So, this week we're on issue 5 of Imperium magazine, and before we jump into it, the channel's been a bit quiet because I've been a bit ill. So I've had a really horrible cold for a few days at the beginning of the week, which has pushed everything back, and I'm still not 100%, so I might sound a little bit off and a little bit sniffly throughout the entirety of this video, in all honesty. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, I really struggled to find this issue. So Wednesday I went into my local newsagents and they hadn't had it delivered. I went into my local WH Smiths, hadn't had it delivered. I went into pretty much all the local supermarkets, none of them had it. So, I don't know if it's still delivery issues that are going on with the magazine. I'm guessing so, but I could be completely wrong with it. It could be something else going on. It could just be that these places aren't stocking it anymore and they just don't know and they're not aware of it. Hopefully everything will be sorted. I've got one of my local newsagents reserving copies for me and ordering it in for me, so fingers crossed everything should be back to normal. If not, like this issue, I will order it online and I'll be able to do a video hopefully by the end of the week. So yeah, fingers crossed it's actually on time though, which will be far better for it as well. So of course issue 5 comes with the exclusive mini as well for the magazine, which is this Primaris captain, a pretty cool looking dude as well. He's the first one where he actually has some bare flesh, so he has no armour over his head, no helmet or anything like that. So it is a good opportunity to make sure that you're pretty capable of painting flesh, which will be quite fun. And of course, being a Primaris captain, it has a lot more detail, a lot more ornateness to the armour, and yeah, should be really good fun to paint. I'm looking forward to getting going with him, because it will be really good fun. So yeah, really good stuff. There may be other issues with this issue, so people might struggle to find it because all the scalpers are buying up all the copies because they'll be selling that mod on its own. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen a couple on eBay already, and people are trying to sell them for like 28 quid just for that mini on its own, which is a bit extortionate in my opinion, and I don't appreciate people that do that. I think it's a bit of a dick move, but each to their own, I suppose. Into the actual issue itself though, now we got that bit out of the way, we have of course Primaris Captain, a decorated company commander. A Space Marine captain is responsible for commanding an entire company of his battle brothers. With centuries of battlefield experience, each captain is a strategic genius. So of course, the Primaris captain has some unique bits of war gear. So they have an Imperial laurel. So these are awarded for an act of great valour that led to a victory for the chapter. So at some point our Primaris captain has actually done something very heroic that has led to victory in a battle. They carry a master crafted power sword, so a Space Marine captain bears only the finest of his chapter's weapons. Forged by expert weaponsmiths, master crafted power swords are both incredibly ornate and utterly lethal. They also have, of course, a plasma pistol, which is pretty much exactly the same as a plasma pistol that our Primaris Lieutenant had as well, so very similar in every way, pretty much. They carry a cape, which is to mark him out as a senior commander. They have their marksman honours, which will be a gold-plated shell casing awarded for accurate shooting. Crux Terminators, which are borne by veterans of the chapter's first company and officers. An iron skull on their shoulder pad, which is awarded for exceptional leadership while in the heat of combat. And they also have service studs, which represent either 10, 50 or 100 years of service to the chapter. And then of course on your other page, you have your battle record as well, which is the fun bit. Because it includes a bit of dice roll to kind of create a character and a bit of narrative to your games and your battles and everything like that. So you have plenty of names to choose from, so you can roll for them, or if you want to, you can get Space Marine name generators online as well, which are always really quite fun because it always pumps out some some pretty nuts ones every now and again, which is always good stuff. You can also give them their title, name their weapons, and of course give them their leadership style as well, which is really good stuff. So pretty cool, pretty fun, and definitely worth having a blast and having a bit of fun with that as well. So really good stuff. Tools of War is going to detail what their weaponry of choice is. So whether based aboard a colossal spaceship or within the looming walls of a fortress monastery, all Space Marine chapters maintain a vast armory stacked high with weapons and armour ready to be unleashed upon the Emperor's foes. So every chapter's armory is different in size and form. They all share many common traits. Each is a huge complex of forge furnaces, secure chambers and dark alcoves, illuminated by crackling braziers and cold lumen. Much of the armour and many other deadly weapons within the armory's halls have been borne to battle by several generations of Space Marine warriors. The oldest blades and guns may even date back to the days where the Emperor himself walked amongst the living. So, weapons are kind of handed down. So, things like the Power Sword, for instance, that Mastercraft Power Sword may actually have been centuries old and older than the actual Space Marine wielding it himself, along with things like the bolt weapons and everything like that as well. So, really good stuff. Then we have a bit of the kind of imagery for the weapons, as well as little tiny bits and pieces to kind of give us some information on them as well. So for our chain weapons, the most common chain weapon being the chainsword itself, which is the iconic look and iconic melee weapon that the Space Marines carry. They have power weapons as well, which are advanced hand-to-hand combat weapons, but when activated by the wielder they project a field of energy that can disrupt solid matter, rendering them capable of cleaving through the thickest of armour. And different forms of power weapon use this energy fields in different ways. So there are power swords, power axes, which of course are used slicing weapons. Then you have your bludgeoning weapons such as the thunder hammer and power fist as well. And then you also have force weapons as well, which are psychically attuned close combat weapons that act as a focus or amplifier of the psyker's power as well. So these are kind of like for your more kind of magical abilities, essentially, in a kind of roundabout way, in a very simple layman's term. With some Space Marines as well, they do also carry combat knives, so they can, which are just your bog standard knife, really, in all honesty, in a lot of ways. Then we have one of the war zones, which is the war for Ramassus, which is Megaria. The moon known as Megaria orbits the gas giant Glenfia, probably said that completely wrong, the largest planet in the Ramassus system. For generations, this desolate, dusty rock has been host to the majority of Ramassus's heavy industry. Since the Necron invasion, however, the moon's refineries have fallen silent. So, going into the battles, this is literally going the Necrons against Space Marines, and kind of few battles and important locations as well. So where it was the Necron Repair Facility, Administratum Complex, Blast Mine Theatre, and the Van Stadt Spaceport as well. So some of the unique kind of areas and locations for the moon of Megaria, which is pretty cool. Then we have the Heart of the Storm, so which is part of your stories and your kind of your timeline and everything like that as well, and the history and lore of the 41st millennium, which is always really good stuff to read as well. So, Heart of the Storm, from their lair deep within the warp, the bloodthirsty Crimson Slaughter have emerged to strike at the Imperium. In their path stand the Fulminators, a chapter of Primaris Space Marines. Beneath the spires of the Shrine World, Timmir's pride, loyalist and traitor clash in the midst of a violent storm. So this is literally your forces of chaos going up against your Space Marines, and giving you a kind of a breakdown and a bit of a story and a bit of a history and lore behind them, just like we used to get in the Age of Sigmar good old Mortal Realms video. You get a little bit of that in there as well, which is really cool stuff and pretty damn useful as well, to give you kind of backside and kind of backstory and insight and kind of a kind of a knowledge of what actually kind of goes on between everywhere and everyone with everything, which is really cool. Then we have your how to build. It does mention about using the mold line removers as well, so entirely up to yourself if you use one of them. You can use a knife if you want to, however be extremely careful if you are going to be using a knife, because you don't want to do too much damage and you don't want to leave it too flat. You can use hobby files if you wanted to, which are very handy to have. However, you can leave flat spots by mistake if you're not careful, so just be careful with it, really. Nothing more to say about that one. Your how to build, follow it step by step because you will need to follow it. Very cool though, and personally, one thing I would do, paint up your cloak separate from your armour, just to make things a little bit easier for yourself in terms of your colour scheme, and paint the head separate as well. What I do is I have a cork, which I have used a little hobby drill in. I cut a paper clip in half after straightening it out, push part of it in, and then I use the same hobby drill, the same size drill bit, into the base of the head to then you paint that up on there. So you've got something to hold it very steady while you paint it, and then you can get a lot of detail in there as well, without having any other part of the model kind of interfering and being in the way. It's a pretty handy trick. It's up to you if you want to use it, but kind of my personal opinion is using sub builds and kind of everything like that, you can paint up very easily and make a very nice looking model, getting tons of high detail in there, and having a bit more kind of fun with it, really, without having too much kind of accidents where you kind of accidentally put a little bit of extra paint on somewhere that it shouldn't be, and stuff like that as well. Then you got your how to paint section, using your base colour of MacLeod blue, paint all over the entire model, and then of course get your lead belcher out to paint up the metal areas, and then in later issues we'll get more colours and there'll be more ways of painting it, so from your golds, your flash and everything like that, if you haven't already got paint. If you have already got paint it how you want, by all means. Have a bit of fun with it. You know what to do if you've already got paints as well, because chances are you might have done it with Mortal Realms magazine, so you already know a lot of the techniques that you can use with this as well. So using things like your null oil to kind of recess shade, and then layer back over with good old MacLeod blue, and then you can have a lot of fun, by all means, with it. Really good stuff. Your playthrough section is rallying the troops. So this is literally your captain going up against the Scorpack destroyers, and kind of getting through them. So pretty cool stuff. Again, teaching you how to play, which is very handy and always really good to have, and definitely worth it because you've got different rules from what you did with Mortal Realms magazine, for instance, which is why I need to use these to play 40k as well. So pretty cool stuff though. Then you have the pull-out section, which is for the Necrons, which is a dynastic hierarchy. So of course each dynasty has its own hierarchy, whether they are from the royal court, going to the Catan shards, which are all that remains of a race of godlike beings of Catan, are now enslaved by the Necrons' eldritch technologies. They now serve only as weapons to be unleashed by the upon the Necrons' foes. They have the legions, which come from the monoliths and the glowing monoliths that can direct command from noble superiors and kind of teleport in more and more units. The Silent King himself in there as well, and they have their armories as well, which also have the monoliths, which are part of their transports and everything like that as well. And then you have your Canoptech constructs such as the scarabs and bits and pieces like that. So really cool stuff, cool pull out. You get your hierarchy as well, so going all the way down from your base all the way down to things like your Canoptech, your outcasts from your destroyers and flayed ones, and your Catan shards as well, which are lower than the lowest of slaves really, and just treated quite horribly, although they were once godlike creatures and beings, and a bit of backstory behind them as well. So you get a bit more kind of knowledge about the Necrons as well with this magazine, so really cool stuff. Going on to next week though, we have a pot of the Bad and Black. And we have Primaris Aggressors. So Primaris Aggressors, 3 models, really cool looking models as well, I must admit, they're really cool. And a lot of good stuff with it. So really cool and really quite impressive for the next issue, and definitely worth picking up. Issue 7, we get 3 pots of paint. So this is the first of the paint issues. So you get Mechanica Standard Grey, Corax White, and Retributor Armour. All very handy for all these models. So really good stuff. Looking forward to it. The magazine's going well. I'm learning a lot more about 40k as I go. I hope you are too. If you are of course enjoying it, drop a comment down below. You can join my Discord server if you wish to as well, and I'll keep everybody updated if there's any more issues with stock for myself or anything like that, and when my next video is, and all that bits and pieces. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll hopefully see you very soon. Bye bye then.